To raise prices or not to raise prices?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Grammarly, offering Grammarly Business to help companies large and small communicate better and move faster with enterprise-grade generative artificial intelligence. Learn more at grammarly.com/business.
From Marketplace, I'm Nova Safo in for David Brancaccio. The latest measures of inflation show a slowdown, but prices are still rising at twice the rate the Federal Reserve wants to see. The Consumer Price Index rose 4% in May compared to last year. We'll get June numbers later this month. So how do businesses decide whether to raise prices or swallow higher costs? Marketplace's Justin Ho checked in with some business owners to find out.
Every year since the pandemic started, Marcia St. Hilaire Finn has raised prices at Bright Start Early Care and Preschool in Washington, D.C. by about 3 to 5%. She says she makes that decision starting with a pretty simple formula.
We looked at the cost of providing the service, and then we add on our profit margin onto that.
Those costs have been rising. Diapers, formula, cleaning supplies, and salaries. But St. Hilaire Finn says there are limits to how much of those increases she can pass on to her customers.
At the end of the day, we're like, well, families can bear so much, but if we have to provide this service, everyone has to make the sacrifice.
That means St. Hilaire Finn has been cutting her profit margin. Before the pandemic, she says it hovered around 8 to 10% of her revenue. Now, that number is closer to 3%.
I'd rather get 2%, 1%, 3% than have a price where you can provide the service to anybody, and then you lose your whole business.
There are other limits to how much a business can raise prices. Greg Warwick is CEO of the equipment supplier TMB Baking near San Francisco. He says his prices have gone up roughly 10 to 15% over the last couple years. And Warwick says he's been keeping an eye on how much other equipment companies are charging.
You know, we are not the only supplier of baking equipment in the United States. We do sell throughout North America.
Warwick says in his industry, missing out on even one sale could be pretty devastating. A spiral mixer might cost $15,000 to $20,000. A deck oven might cost $100,000.
In the durable goods sector in particular, with some high cost equipment, a sale can be really a positive thing or a negative if you don't gain it.
But not every business is as concerned about what every customer thinks. Steve Chu runs Ekiben, a sandwich shop in Baltimore. He says his costs have gone up around 30%, so he's raised his prices around 30%.
And when we raised prices, there were, obviously, people that are unhappy and stuff. But, we raised prices according to our raised costs. And over time, they will understand.
Chu says it helps that by now, a lot of customers are used to paying more at restaurants. But he also has to make sure they're still happy with his sandwiches.
Because at a certain point, you'll keep on raising prices and you'll hit like a certain price point where people are like, I do expect a lot more out of this brand.
And if that happens, Chu says he might have to turn his sandwich shop into something fancier. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by UKG, an HR payroll and workforce management solution designed with people in mind to help make a fairy tale workplace a reality. UKG, our purpose is people. And by Charles Schwab. Schwab understands that wealth management is personal. That's why Schwab offers flexible, personalized financial planning crafted for their investors' individual goals. Learn more at schwab.com.
We've been following changes in the homeowners insurance market in several states. Major insurance companies are pulling out of places like California and Florida because of increasingly frequent, destructive, and costly natural disasters, the kinds of challenges associated with climate change. And with the big insurance companies leaving town, the remaining coverage options are getting more expensive. Marketplace's senior economics contributor Chris Farrell has been looking into how insurance companies calculate what to charge based on climate change risk. He spoke with David Brancaccio.
First of all, it's typically the largest asset on the balance sheet of any household, primary residence, and often the mortgage company makes you have insurance on what they're helping to pay for. How big is the homeowners insurance market?
Homeowners insurance is a $15 trillion market by coverage, and almost 85% of homeowners, they pay premiums. And these policies, they provide households with financial protection from climate-related losses. Think of it this way. The insurance industry is acting like the frontline defense against climate change in how it prices risks and pools coverage.
Homeowners insurance premiums are tending to go higher, especially in parts of the country that are more vulnerable to natural disasters.
Yeah, from the perspective of homeowners, a number of insurance companies have decided not to write new property insurance policies in California, including State Farm. And you have a somewhat similar story that's unfolding in Florida. Premiums have risen sharply in Texas. Homeowners in some vulnerable states, they turn to state chartered or state backed insurance for coverage. But boy, these backstops, David, they're financially vulnerable too.
Insurance is regulated at the state level. That's one of its features or bugs. How are regulators and legislators responding?
In the aggregate, not fast enough. There's a fascinating study by 3 economists. It was published last year by the Federal Reserve, and they found strong evidence that state regulators have largely decoupled rates from the underlying risks. So in states that are at risk to hurricanes, wildfires, rates haven't been adequately adjusted to the growth in losses. And it's understandable. You want to protect homeowners from these higher premiums, but allowing insurance companies to price the risk of climate-related change into their policies, look, it is absolutely critical to mitigating the impact of climate change.
Right, but higher prices mean fewer families, fewer homeowners would be able to afford homeowners insurance. There's that paradox.
There is, and that's why there's going to be a lot of reform in this market. But any reform movement, it kind of needs that foundation of accurate risk-adjusted premium prices. With better risk pricing, it creates incentives for individuals, regulators, legislatures to take climate change seriously. The bottom line is when rates don't adequately reflect risks, the informational role of insurance prices breaks down, and we're less prepared to protect the economy from the impact of climate change.
Marketplace's senior economics contributor Chris Farrell, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
And David Brancaccia with that interview. I'm Nova Safo with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.